Welcome back to our final segment with Jeff Knox of the Firearms Coalition. Jeff, we were talking just before the break and about Chris Cox and his resignation, his departure of the NRA. One of the things that I think that hurts the most about that, I've a long time said that the NRA is doing really good at the national level lobbying Congress. Everywhere else, it's been faltering a little bit, and it's been not as good as it used to be. But lobbying Congress, they still had power. To lose Chris Cox now, when the events of the last few weeks, it now looks like when September comes back, the Senate is going to be taking up red flag laws, going to be taking up a whole bunch of other stuff. To lose him now really hurts.
It absolutely really hurts. And I've disagreed with Chris on some of his calls in recent years. I don't know how much of that was Chris and how much of that was Wayne, his boss, but they've put out some stupid stuff. They've done a pretty good job at the national level, although they've not done a great job of getting things through that I think should have gotten through. Hearing protection, the SHARE Act, national reciprocity.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we had a shot at those and that we could have done better on those. But Chris, one of the main things that Chris has done is he's developed personal relationships with a whole lot of politicians, including Lindsey Graham. They go bird hunting now and then, and I'm very upset with Lindsey Graham and what he's doing on these red flag laws. Chris also, though, is the guy who leads up the political fight, not the lobbying fight, but the election side. He is very active in the NRA's strategy for helping get good politicians elected, or better than awful politicians elected in Washington. And yeah, him not being there right now while Republicans are committing suicide by jumping on this gun control bandwagon, him not being there to actively tell them, guys, you need to stop, you need to back up, that's a big problem. NRA pretty much gave Donald Trump a green light on bump stocks and a green light on these red flag confiscation laws. And gave him kind of a hem and haw on expanding background checks. And so when after Las Vegas, Trump ran with the green light that they gave him on the bump stock issue, and he pushed it all the way to the limit. And now all semi-automatic rifles are at risk thanks to the ATF's decision and determination coming out of that. And people who don't understand that aren't paying attention. All semi-auto rifles are at risk, and possibly all semi-auto handguns are at risk as a result of the ATF's determination that bump stocks are machine guns. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump, after Dayton and El Paso tragedies, he's jumped on this bandwagon again and is immediately called for red flag confiscation laws being passed and supported, and then shifted over to more focus on expanded background checks. And now he's kind of backpedaled on that a little bit and is still, again, focused on red flag laws. I was talking with somebody at the White House yesterday, just urging them to fix this. The thing that the president needs to be saying right now is the table's open. I will entertain any good idea. I'll entertain bad ideas. Let's bring the ideas to the table. We need to be sensitive to constitutional issues. We need to be sensitive to mental health rights issues. We need to be sensitive to the families of the victims. And we need to figure out how we can reduce these sorts of events from happening in the future. But we can't just knee jerk this. We can't just suddenly react and say, oh, this is the answer. So we need to look at it. We need to study it. We need to bring all of the options onto the table, and that's what he should say, and that's where he should shut up. And that's the same with all of the Republicans. They should express that, and then they should shut up and wait and put the information together and analyze the information. And I firmly believe that if they look at it carefully and closely, that they will see that red flag laws are a bad idea. Confiscating guns from someone who you think is dangerously ill is stupid. What you should do is get that dangerously ill person some assistance,
Amen.
some help. And that means taking them off the street, away from the people that they might hurt and away from the tools that they might use to hurt people, and get them the medical help that they need. Um, that's a much better answer than knocking their door down at 5 in the morning and shooting them because they have a gun.
Or
Really, really bad idea.
even just go ahead and confiscate the guns, leave them out, leave them free, where they have access to
Everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Gasoline,
bomb making materials. Yeah, exactly.
Cars. Yeah, it's foolish. It's idiotic. And we've already had at least one person killed because they wanted to take his guns. Was it justified? I have no idea. I wasn't there. But was them being there justified? Probably not. It turns out it was on the word of his sister, who didn't live with him and was just worried. So she got him killed.
Yeah.
Is the way it looks. And that's terrible, but Republicans are making a huge, huge mistake. They're throwing away an important constituency in favor of a constituency that's not going to vote for them ever. That's not politically smart. So hopefully they will back up and regroup and rethink what they're doing, and maybe they can earn a little bit of support from gun voters. But the tack that they're on right now, very bad, and it's really problematic that Chris Cox isn't there talking with them. I understand that Wayne LaPierre went to talk with President Trump a couple of days ago. Hopefully he got a message to him that can work, but I don't have a lot of faith in that.
Well, and the good news there is the reports are that the president also reached out to the Second Amendment Foundation and to Alan Gottlieb, and hopefully,
on that note, let's go back to 2013. Manchin Toomey, Alan Gottlieb worked with Manchin and Toomey to try and make that proposal more palatable by giving some things that gun owners would want, building those into the proposed law. And of course, once that got up to the Senate, Chuck Schumer stripped all of those benefits for gun owners out, and we were left with just the expanded background check law. I was approached by someone on behalf of the White House yesterday, asking or Friday, asking about, what would I suggest that they try and get as a win for gun owners to go along with background checks expanded or red flag laws. And my response was, you're shooting in the wrong direction. That's a bad idea. There is no going with gun control light and trying to give us some little tidbit of something that you think we want is a losing strategy, because even if we get the tidbit, we're going to be more angry about the gun control than we are about the gain that we might be getting. And it's not going to fly. So Republicans need to step back and say, table's open, let's look at ideas. Nothing is excluded, but we're going to study these and find what really has the potential to work. And that's the direction we're going to go. And then shut up.
Mm-hmm. Let's get back to because we were going to talk most of this segment. We already burned up half the segment, but I wanted to reserve most of this segment to talk about the Delaquila lawsuit.
Right.
This is a really interesting one. You alluded to the filing in the first segment. He basically says, "Look, I gave a lot of money to the NRA. They said it was going to be used for lobbying. They said it was going to be used for teaching and this other and a lot of other things, and it's not being used for that."
Right.
Do you think this has a chance to go far? Do you think it has a chance to reform the NRA?
The main thing that this has a chance to do is issue subpoenas and get discovery. That's the critical thing that this has the ability to do. Whether it goes beyond that, I don't know. But what Delaquila has done with this lawsuit is he has opened the door into the NRA's books. He has done what the members of the board of directors that just quit weren't able to do.
Mm-hmm.
They asked for this information and they couldn't get it. Well, the NRA can't deny it to the lawyers in this lawsuit. They'll be subpoenaed. They'll be deposed. They'll have to answer questions. My big concern is whether Delaquila and his lawsuit can get that in time ahead of Letitia James and whoever it is out of D.C. that are coming in with their investigations trying to destroy the NRA.
Now, for people who may not be, Letitia James is the attorney
General of New York.
New York, yeah.
Right. And her objective is to destroy the NRA and kill its political power. That's what she wants to do. Simple fact. It's and it actually hurts her cause that's a fact, and it's a known fact. But anyway, Delaquila, with this lawsuit, he has the ability to issue subpoenas and open the NRA's books and get the information that members of the board of directors have been denied. So with that information, he can potentially force the NRA to take positive actions. In the long run, I think that the long run objective of it, while the suit is a class action suit calling for return of millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, possibly hundreds of millions of dollars to the members because it was acquired and used in ways that weren't, upfront. That I don't think that's the objective. I don't think anybody really wants their money back. What we want is a strong, effective NRA that is fighting for us and doing what they're supposed to do. And again, the Delaquila lawsuit has the potential to do that. It could come down to a settlement that the NRA, under a judge's order and guidance, restructures its bylaws, restructures its board of directors, restructures its officers, fires these officers, brings in these new directors, changes the board of directors from 76 members down to, how about 9 or 12?
Right.
That would be much more reasonable and sensible. So that could be the upshot of this lawsuit. And I don't know. I'm not an attorney. David Delaquila is not an attorney.
Right.
It's a crapshoot, but it gets more action than other objectives. It gets more action than anything that anybody else is doing right now. And so maybe something will come of it. I hope so. I think that I'm okay with Delaquila's lawsuit. So we'll see where it goes.
Certainly. We are just about up on the segment again. And the one thing I wanted to clarify, we talked a little bit about this again pre-interview, but there were reports out there that looked like he was acting as his own attorney, but he did file it without an
Right.
attorney. But it looks like now there he does have he's at least planning for representation.
Right. Delaquila's name is on it. He didn't have an attorney file it for him, but he did it under the advice of attorneys. He has he didn't do this all by himself. He had
Sure.
attorneys that put this all together for him. And I actually spoke with him today, and one of the comments was that he needed to decide which attorney was going to be the official attorney of record for the lawsuit. So, no, he is not acting as his own lawyer in this suit. That's not the objective, and that's not how it's going.
And it would be colossally a mistake to do that simply because we're not
Mm-hmm.
talking about a man that can't afford an attorney.
Right,
you know.
right. No, and actually there are a bunch of people who are offering him a bunch of money to help him do what he's doing, and so far he's turned that down. Um, and that's an honorable thing. So we'll see where it goes, but it's definitely interesting times. We've got a mess at the NRA. Um, there's clear, and this is the thing that it all boils down to. There's been clearly abuse, misuse of funds, cronyism, sweetheart deals, some shady stuff going on, and some huge mistakes and blunders. Kerryguard,
Mm.
um, that the guy who did that is still getting paid $800,000 a year. Why? Um, but all of it happened under Wayne LaPierre's watch. And whether Wayne LaPierre was directly responsible and involved, which I believe he fully was, or not, that doesn't matter. Um, I believe that taking out Chris Cox was intentional to remove the most likely pretender to the throne, the most likely next in line successor to the throne,
Mm-hmm.
take him out of the action. Now the board is left with no choices. There's nobody else. Wayne's our only person. And so we've got to go with Wayne. And I think that that's a false position. I think that that's not the reality. And I think that it needs to happen. Who do we go with without Wayne? I don't care. Anybody is better than sticking with the guy who has driven us down the toilet at this point, and created so much embarrassment and trouble. The dad warned against what Ackerman and McQueen was doing 20 years ago, and that was what led to his battle with Wayne 20 years ago, 23 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The lawsuit against Ackerman and McQueen for not disclosing all that they should on their invoices and their billing, that is exactly what Dad was accusing them of 23 years ago, that Wayne defended them and went to the mat for them for. So that was vindication. Wayne has allowed them to get worse and worse for 20 years. Now we've got directors claiming, oh, it was Wayne's new good governance policies and transparency policies that showed all of these problems. Well, yeah, well, all of those problems existed because of his old non-transparency, bad government policies. I absolutely, Wayne LaPierre has got to go. This is a mess, and it's his fault, and he needs to take responsibility for it. And the board needs to enforce that. Period.
Last question. We're already over time, but I think it's worth it to extending out for this last question. Do you think coming up next spring when we meet in Nashville, we could be looking at another revolt? I mean, it's certainly looking that way.
Oh, absolutely, except that there's no power. I mean, we can revolt all we want, but we don't have the power to take action in the NRA members meeting. They took that power away from us. Um, After Cincinnati in 1977, people started closing those doors. Anything that they saw that was a threat that anybody could come in and do, they started closing those doors. And so at this point, it's impossible for the members to recall any of the officers or directors. It would take 7,000 signatures of voting members, how are you going to find 7,000 voting members? Um, and, less than 200,000 actually voted in the last election
Right.
through mail-in ballot. So, no, yes, it could get really ugly. Can they actually do anything? No, they can't. They can't actually accomplish anything except make Wayne and company look really, really bad. And I think that they will. I think that it's going to be an ugly meeting unless the board fixes things when they go and meet in Alaska instead of fishing.
Yeah. And that's going to be interesting. I know that the Save the Second people have got a petition that they've apparently got more than enough signatures for to bring up something at that board meeting that would initiate the changes. It's just
Well,
that,
some bylaw changes,
yeah,
and one of the problems, though, well, it wouldn't have flown anyway. I don't think they've got a snowball's chance in hell of getting it through the board of directors in Alaska.
I'm right there with you.
But power to them trying, and we'll see what happens. We got to push on every front to try and get the NRA effective and working for us again.
Yeah, we absolutely need a powerful NRA. It's
absolutely. Let me clarify that, though. It would be really, really good to have a powerful NRA. Do we need them? No, we need to be participating. We need to be tuned in. We need to be paying attention, and we need to take action every time that we need to take action. Like right now, we need to all be contacting our legislators and saying, what the hell is wrong with you crazy Republicans? Get off of this, get away from gun control, stand for the Second Amendment, and push forward, or you're losing us. We all need to be telling them that. We need to be on Donald Trump's Twitter feed. We need to be on his Facebook feed. We need to be in all of this because we don't have the NRA to do that for us. We can't say, I gave my 35, 45, however much it is anymore, and the NRA is supposed to take care of it for me. Well, they're not. It's up to you. Mm-hmm. You are the gun lobby. Get out there and do it. Take care of business.
And I'm going to continue going long because I did a Facebook Live video earlier today. It's got to the point where what I did with both of my senators, who are thankfully really pro-gun, and with my representative, who it remains to be seen, I contacted them all through both phone calls, emails, and I've even sent a letter that I don't think that any of them have yet because it just went out on Friday. But I flatly stated anybody that represents me that votes in any way for gun control, I'm going to make a financial contribution to their competitor in the next primary they run in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to see to it that you're primaried if I have to run myself.
Mm-hmm.
Let them know that they are kowtowing. They're reaching out to a constituency that's never going to support them. The people in the middle that they think they might be winning with this, they're not actually winning because those people in the middle, guns is not the thing they care about most 90% of the time. A week after or a couple of days after a tragic shooting, yes, maybe guns is up high on their list for a couple of weeks. But by the time you get to election season in 2020, they've forgotten all about that. They don't care about what your position was in 2019 after those horrific incidents. Gun voters remember. Gun voters not only remember for a long, long time, but we have demonstrated that we are more than willing to cut off our own nose to spite our face. Mm-hmm. We are more than willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater because that's what we do. And these foolish Republicans wanting to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory need to be brought into line and need to be informed that they're blowing it, and they're blowing it in a big way, and they need to stop.
Amen. Well, we are about 10 minutes long on the segment, so I do need to set it aside here. Jeff Knox, Firearms Coalition, thank you for joining us. And I hope next time we talk, if we talk about NRA, that we have some good news to talk about.
I sure hope so. I would love to see the NRA strong and functional again.
Amen. We are going to go ahead and set this aside. This is going to be the end of this particular episode, deep dive. I'm not ruling out. We've got a couple more interviews that may be happening in the next week. We may do one more of these. This may be it. I'm not quite sure at this time, but I want to thank you for listening. Facebook and YouTube viewers, I want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time. And we are clear.